Hi, my name is Kelly, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. My sobriety date is February 17th, 2008. I didn't take to recovery right away. I fought it for a long time. I'm really grateful now that I made the decision to get to this place, and my life is very different than it was when I was in my addiction. In terms of background, I come from a very nice family. I grew up outside of New York City. Mother, father, yeah, I'm the oldest of three. Everything on the outside looked great. And the only thing that wasn't great was that both of my parents drank excessively. And from an early age, I was very fearful just because our house was very unpredictable. And I always had a sense of anxiety, and I was kind of nervous. One thing I learned early on was that if I tried to be perfect, that things were better. And so I had the desire to always please and to be perfect. And that made me very nervous and very anxious, and that continued my fear. When I was about 12, I had my first drink and drunk all in the same night, and that was a turning point for sure, because I felt the anxiety and the fear slip away, and I felt much more relaxed and free, and I felt like I was the best version of myself when I was drinking. And I chased that for 30 years. I drank all through high school, college, and beyond. When I was 23, I remember I moved to Chicago from New York, and I remember thinking to myself, I've got a problem. I can't stop drinking. And when I thought that to myself, I immediately said, but I can't do anything about it because I can't stop drinking. Like I don't want to stop, and I can't. And I don't want to tell anybody that I have this problem because they'll judge me, and I can't allow anybody to judge me. And so when you have a problem like that, like I did, one thing that you make sure of is that your relationships aren't very deep, and that you just have relationships that are kind of on the surface. I excelled in places like work, because for a long time I kept that work balance. I was able to drink at night and go to work during the day and be successful. And but I had a lot of friendships, but they weren't very deep. And relationships that I had were certainly not, any romantic relationships weren't very successful, because it's pretty hard to date an active alcoholic who's trying to hide it from the world. And I thought if things looked right on the outside, it didn't matter what was happening to me inside or at night when I was going home and passing out, which was my goal every night, was to just pass out. As long as it looked right, to me, that was a success. And that was part of the perfectionism. Like, I just need everyone to think I'm okay so that I can be not okay inside, and that'll be fine with me. And I just have to keep being able to drink. That's the most important thing. So I made a lot of decisions over that period of time that I was drinking through my 20s and 30s that were kind of crazy and not really what you would, on paper think is a smart move. But I moved from Chicago to Los Angeles for a relationship. Then for the same relationship, I moved to Istanbul. And by the time I got to Istanbul, my drinking had become a 24/7 issue for me. It's actually really challenging to be an American in Istanbul who's an alcoholic and female. It's not as easy to get alcohol as you would think, and it'd be pretty clever to keep up my addiction. I did go home to New York to visit my family, and during that visit, they knew that this was it. I needed help right away, and they got me to my first AA meeting. That was about 4 years before I actually got sober. So for the next 4 years, there were many detoxes, many intensive outpatient programs, many therapists, many treatment centers. None of this really kind of pierced the veil of my fear of getting sober, which, I thought if I were to give up alcohol, that would mean that I would probably not be able to survive. And I had a little glimpse of sobriety because I'd been to AA and I'd been to, all these treatment centers, and I enjoyed being sober on some level, but there was this reservation that if something really bad happened, I would need to be able to drink to get through it. I had no idea what that really bad thing was. That really bad thing could have been, just that I felt like it. I just wanted the option. I didn't want to be told, no, you can never do this again. And so I kind of half-heartedly went through the pursuits of recovery, and it showed. I couldn't stay sober. I did at one point. I was back in New York. I had again a really good job. I was good at getting and keeping jobs for as long as I was like reasonably sober, and I was really starting to go back to kind of a 24/7 drinking. And I saw a counselor, and she said, you need to go back to treatment. And they sent me here to Northeast Pennsylvania. And the treatment center said that I needed to go to a halfway house for long-term care. And eventually I agreed. While in that halfway house, I learned a lot about myself. About 6 months into the stay there, I realized like I need to, not go back to New York, not go back to my career, but I need to focus on me and I need to get sober. But I thought I'd drink one more time, and I did, on a weekend pass. And when I came back, that was my moment of clarity, because the woman who owned the halfway house had some things to say to me, and she made a real impression on me when she said that she didn't even know who I was, and that I was the least grateful person she'd ever encountered, because nobody had been handed more opportunities to get sober than I had, and had been so dismissive of them, and so uncaring about the people who cared so about me. And all of this, the way that I sort of arrogantly said that I was, I know what this is, I know how to do this, I know the book, I know that's nothing. That was more of my perfectionism. That was more of me putting smoke and mirrors up for everyone, saying, look at me, I'm good at this, I got this. I learned the recovery program, I learned what to do, I don't need help. And the truth is, she brought me down to size and gave me a dose of humility that I needed desperately to understand where I was in the world. I'm just another person who's got, substance use disorder, who needs help. And I can't do this alone. And I don't do it alone anymore. I spent a long time in that halfway house. I spent 7 years there because I needed a lot of help, and I wanted to be around people in recovery, and I wanted specifically to be around women in recovery so that I could learn to develop relationships, deeper relationships with people, and kind of pierce that veil of my own of like, this is, this perfect image is all I need to get by in the world in terms of, I'm successful, I've done this. That's not what my recovery is based on. My recovery is based on the fact that I'm a person just like anybody else in recovery who has a fatal disease. I'm a good person, but it's a fatal disease, and if I don't take care of it, it's going to take care of me. And the only way I take care of it is by following direction of other people in the programs, and to work with other women in recovery. And I will say that relationships in the past were always based on my terms of what a relationship would be, because it had to be a relationship with someone who could allow me to drink the way I wanted to drink and not bother me. And now my relationships are based on our terms. The people that I'm in a relationship with, it's a much more authentic, relationship. I really don't mind being vulnerable and honest about my past and my fears and who I am. And to be honest, my level of fear has come down so much. Uh, if I feel like a different person, and that's the gift of recovery. If I could give everybody a message of hope, it would be that if you're afraid that you're going to lose something when you're going to get sober, like the ability to relax or to let go or to control, I can assure you that this is a better way and that those things will happen with more effect in sobriety. And for me, it was a little bit like when Dorothy, from The Wizard of Oz gets to Oz and the movie turns from black and white into this amazing technicolor, and her whole world changes. And that's how it's been for me. It's like a beautiful journey that I just can't get enough of. Like it hasn't ended. It's not going to end. I'm going to be on it for the rest of my life. And I don't want to get off of it. I don't want to pick up another drink. I don't want to go back to the way I lived. And I don't have to, because I don't do it alone. It's not up to me. It's something that I do with my higher power and something that I do with a lot of other people in recovery. And I wish everybody could have the same gift I did.